Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk All the Things with Rachael and Shannon. Tell them who you are.
I am Rachael Bird, also known as Kobe's mom.
Who is the most popular person on our block this week and is often, because if you guys didn't watch the opening hour, the kickoff hour, well, you missed it. It'll be available in podcast sometime next week, but your son was so delightful, so delectable that, you know, when you watch the tape back, there's a moment where he says something deeply, deeply profound, and Doreen and I are like, you know, like our heads are together and we're like, isn't he amazing? Isn't he the most amazing thing ever? And he was just delightful. Look, you know, if you put any young actor and said, okay, we're going to put you on a panel with Joe Mantegna and Holly Robinson.
I mean, can we talk about that?
I think a lot of actors would be intimidated and be like,
There's a point where Joe said, when I was taping Godfather 3 and I watched Kobe's brain like twitch because he is the hugest, and Kobe, I could see him, he kind of went, but I knew inside of his body he was like, yes, 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 you know.
Yes. And yet, you know, he sat here and he held his own despite all of that, and he would say something and it was almost like we would all sit here and pause and look at him and go, yeah.
And then last night, I got to do an hour-long show with him, just the two of us, which we've never done, which, you know, was kind of this, what are we going to do? Are we going to prep something? When Shannon asked, like, what are you guys going to talk about in that hour? I was like, we wanted to talk about the industry, but I kind of didn't know because it was just the two of us. And I thought, well, what are we going to do? Kobe ended up doing a painting. We'll talk about that later. But I just was like, what are we going to talk about? So we had some bullet points, and it's funny because I almost wish I would have recorded the going into it, because when I said, these are the things I want to talk about, we had some conversations that none of them came up on camera, but things about him remembering things from when he was little. And even on the drive here last night, he's like, Mom, I had a childcare when he was 2 years old and basically nonverbal. And I said something about him remembering a car of someone's, and he goes, what was Jade's mom's name? And I said, Janet. And he goes, she had a 19-something RAV4 and it was Forest Green. And I went, what?
Right.
And he goes, yeah. And he goes, it was this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I went, what? So I almost like, it was that build up before, like having those conversations of what we were going to talk about, and then talked about none of it. So it was so funny. I was like, maybe we should have asked, because I always like to go through things with a little, because he does have that processing, trying to get the thoughts out. And I was just, it was great. It was almost like we had a pre-show, just the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we enjoyed, am I allowed to say this? Because I had gone to sleep for a little while, and then I had threatened my husband with death, because I have to have a babysitter here when I'm sleeping, so that if I'm needed for anything, there's somebody to be a runner who will come and,
because let's start off that we're at like hour 23 or 22, where
22,
are we?
Hour 22.
Hour 22 of the 44-hour podcastathon live, that Shannon has been here from the beginning, and let's not talk about the last few weeks.
Well, yeah.
But so Shannon got to have some sleepy time last night.
A little bit.
Ish. I was going to say ish. So I told her husband, do not wake her up.
Because you guys were getting here around 11:15.
Yes.
And I had gone to bed, because I have an air mattress here, like at about 10. And my husband knows in our house regularly, if Mama has gone to sleep and gotten to sleep, you do not wake her up.
100%.
Like, you just don't do that.
Same in ours.
That's just not fair. That's not allowed. But I had said to him, I need you to wake me up when Rachael and Kobe get here, because I just wanted to make sure you guys were set up for your hour. And he hemmed and hawed. He was like, all right, I'll do it. And
then I hemmed and hawed, and I said, do not wake her up. And he said, I promised her I would wake her up, and I thought, okay, I don't want him to get in trouble.
Yeah, no. So he did. He was like, he came to the door and he was like, honey, I hate to wake you up, but Rachael and Kobe are here. And of course, you come awake in that, like, where am I?
Yeah.
Where am I? I'm someplace.
Like, I'm in the studio. I'm
laying on the floor of my office on an air mattress. What's happening?
Yeah.
What is the earth on fire? But I got up and I was sleep deprived and whatever. But there's been a big activity that's been going on this last week here in Los Angeles. Angeles, that it's a yearly thing. It's called the Easter Seals Film Challenge, right?
Disability Film Challenge.
Disability Film Challenge. And a lot of people participate in it, and they make films on a topic, and it's this, tell them, because it's a very funny thing about how it gets unveiled and how many days you have to do it.
Oh, okay, so basically what it is it's Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, and an actor, writer, producer, everything named Nick Novicki started this 10 years ago, and he started it because he wanted people in the disability community to have visibility in the industry. Did I even say that correctly?
You did.
I don't know what
I'm
word
impressed.
just came out of my mouth.
We're all a little sleep deprived.
So he wanted to have visibility for people with disabilities in front and behind of the camera. And so he started this Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge. He's got, a partnership with SAG. SAG has a thing where they let SAG actors do it. And the rule is they want someone with a disability in front or behind the camera, at least one person, but a lot of the cast and crew ends up being people with multiple disabilities. You've got writers, you've got directors, you've got composers, actors, everything, editors. Yeah. And a lot of people form a big team or a small team. You can join as an individual, and then you can join a team that way. And this is the 10th anniversary of it. And what happens is you get a theme. There's an overall theme, which was romance. And then you get subsidiary themes. So then the challenge this year went from May 28th to April 2nd, which when you think about, and it's a 1 to 5 minute film. And on the 28th, we got parameters. We got locations. There's 3 different locations you have to have in your film. You have props, and you have to add a certain amount of props, and you have a secondary theme. So the theme was romance, and then we chose First Encounter as our secondary theme.
Love it.
And so then you have to write, edit, direct, film, compose, score, whatever, everything in those days.
Which is crazy. It's 5 days. It's really
Yes.
not enough time to do anything. So
Yes.
you really have to set aside those 5 days and work on it.
Right.
And so everything shut down here in the Los Angeles special needs community last week as I was trying to get information for people. I was like, I don't have your bio. And
No.
people were like, it's
We're
still
doing the-
disability
yeah.
challenge, don't have time.
And Kobe and I decided we had to register by the 27th. On the 26th, I said, hey, should we do this? You've never done it before. He's been asked to be on teams before, but he's been filming and hasn't been able to do it. And I thought, I feel like this year we should do it. And some people that had reached out before we reached out, and they said, we've already got our teams, or, and I was like, okay. And I kind of felt like, gosh, we're available this year. And I said to him, should we write a film? Never have written a film, never directed a film, never ran camera on a film, never edited nothing. And we ended up doing a little film that it's called The Question. And as of April 8th, we'll be able to share that with you. There is an awareness campaign, and there is an award for like the most views or stuff like that. And so it goes into a festival. There's awards, there's prizes. So we'll find out if we're up for any of those and the awareness campaign. But what Kobe said, we had zero budget. We did it in our bathroom. It was a very, Kobe plays 2 characters. We wrote it, he had a lot of opinions. I kind of had a base of an idea of something, and then I said, okay, Kobe, let's go through with this. And he plays 2 characters, one named Hero and one named Reflection. We never call them that, but that's, you know. And I think it's a really fun little film.
And I had been listening to you guys talk about it as you were prepping it in the 3 minutes that I would have every day as we were leading up to this. But so in the middle of the night last night, I went to the restroom and came back, and my husband was watching it. And so you rewind it. It's 4 minutes, right? And so I got to watch it last night while I was, like very emotional and tired and whatever. And I fell to pieces and was like, oh my gosh. So in any case, we should let people know where they should look when it's time, because you can watch the videos, and you watching them is kind of like voting, correct?
Right.
So where do they need to look?
So what's going to happen is on the 8th, we'll get a Facebook and an Instagram and a Twitter and a YouTube link that we will be sharing on our social media. Actually, Kobe will be sharing it on Instagram. It's at the Kobe Bird, COBYBIRD, or at the Kobe Bird, and then that's Instagram and Twitter, and then on Facebook it's just Kobe. You just look up Kobe Bird. It's COBYBIRD, and we'll have the links there as well. And then I think if you go to Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, I'm not sure, this is our first year, but I think you'll be able to type in or pull it up.
Yeah.
But we'll be sharing the links, and I'll make sure Shannon shares it.
There you go.
So
So more to come on that.
Yeah.
We have to talk about ways to connect, and we want to talk about some of the things that we have going on. But I, of course, Traven, forgot to ask for my iPad. So this, because you know why? When we do this normally, you and I normally pre-record.
This is our first live.
We've never done it live where we can have people writing in, and we would love to be interacting with you guys. I just forgot about it. But let me say this, that there are lots of ways to connect and to write in right now, and you should want to write in because this hour is a Discovery Toy giveaway hour for gift certificates. In this
How
hour,
exciting is that?
it's thrilling. In this hour, we're going to give away 10 $25 gift certificates for Discovery Toys. It's a virtual gift certificate. We will give that to you and through the email. And I lost my train of thought. You can see the sleep setting in, right? But we will, what we'll do is throughout this hour, if you want to be entered to win one of those gift certificates, you'll need to write in and comment or give a question or something. Don't spam, right? But, something to add to the conversation. Every time you enter, that you're so clever so that you make sure you're not on camera. That was Traven.
Can I say also all the hard work that Shannon's done? Traven's been doing so much hard work. Traven, we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much.
I'm going to be lucky if Traven ever speaks to me again. But Traven has worked so hard and worked so many miracles. Thank God for Traven. I don't know what we would do without him. We would be sitting in a dark room talking to ourselves
Just
and not
looking
to
at
you.
each other.
That's right. That's all it would be.
Which we've done before, but
yes,
with
and
Traven,
then-
it's Traven, you make it better.
Yes, Traven makes it so
Thank
that you
you.
guys can be with us too. So anyway, every time that you give a comment or a question in the chat, one ticket is made by our lovely minions in the back who put that into a hat, and then they will pick out 10 names at the end. Now, you can only win one per podcastathon per person. But if you have other members of your family that have their own Facebook or YouTube or whatever,
That's
great.
Have
them do it. So, well, here we go. People, I love these comments. People are writing in Kobe Bird, yes. Somebody said, I can't believe it's Sharon. But it's not. It's Shannon. So maybe you're talking about somebody else. I don't know. But I'm saying hi to Jonathan and to May and to Zemine. And Jonathan said, I'm allergic to peanuts and peanut butter after I had seizures. That's funny because we were just talking about peanut allergies because Dr. Granpichet's husband has a severe peanut allergy. But he said, Kobe's mom, Rachel, is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Isn't that
You're so
sweet?
sweet.
And they said, good for you, Rachel and Kobe. Kobe is my favorite actor with autism like me, and he's your son. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh.
Judy is saying, hello, Rachel, with a blue heart. And Jonathan says, thanks for the support, Rachel. I hope Kobe will be proud of you. And Our Journey, Cameron's New Life says, yay. And they said, good morning, Traven, because we love. And thanks, Sharon. And I tell you, I answer to Sharon, but it actually is Shannon.
Kobe answers to Corey or Cody.
There we go.
Because he gets that all the time.
Wow, Amanda Bright is back with her blue hearts, and she said, I got my Temple Grandin book already today, Visual Thinking. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
But the new book that came out yesterday is Autism and Education, the Way I See It by Temple Grandin. But I love that you got the Visual Thinking book. That's wonderful. So you do this, you write in like this, like these people did, and they'll get a ticket for each one, and at the end of the hour, I'll read the names, and if I read your name, you'll have to email me. My email is shannon@autism-live.com, and I will give that to you at the end, and after the hour is over, I'll put it into the chat so that you'll have it. It'll be in the chat, because we get busy at the end, but I will put it in at the end, and then give me a couple of days. It's probably going to be Monday before I get around to emailing out, because it will be me emailing out the gift certificates. And again, you can use those at the Discovery Toys United States website. It cannot be used on Amazon or at other retailers or on other websites. Jonathan says, sorry, Shannon, I've been spelling your name wrong. My mistake. It's okay. Can I tell you how often in life I've been called Sharon? I do respond to it. It's just one of those things. Yeah. Amanda laughed and she said she showed so many, but I needed this one anyway. It's a good one. The visual thinking is a really good one. And they're hard to choose. It's like Sophie's Choice.
Well, you tap into what calls you the most.
Yeah.
So at this moment, if visual thinking is what it is that you need, then go for it.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the thing is you find different things. I've done that before with books and different things that people go, oh, or even a movie. Someone says, you need to watch this. And it's like, I need to watch this in order to get to that one. So it's whatever calls you at that moment. Yeah. So the fact that you got it is great.
I believe in that sort of kismet-y thing. I had the experience once when I was in graduate school that somebody recommended, have you ever had this kind of thing? Somebody recommended a book to me and said, oh, you should really check out this book. And I said, oh, okay, thanks. And then the next day, totally different conversation with somebody who wasn't a part of the other conversation said, oh, you know what book you should check out? It was the same book. And I was like, okay, that's funny. Somebody said that yesterday. Then the same day, the bus stop, this is when I was in graduate school in Denver, and the bus stop where I would have to catch the bus to get to my apartment was right in front of a bookstore. And I loved it because while I was waiting for the bus, you could see the bus stop, and so it was right there. I would go in and shop in the bookstore. I'm not kidding you. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I walked into the bookstore, was looking around, and as I'm walking around, they had this thing where they would pull books out on the side and set a book up on it so that it was pulled out from it, kind of cute like. And I'm walking along, and a book falls off a shelf, hits me in the head.
And it's that book?
It's that book. Okay, it's not over yet. So I went, oh, this is hilarious. I probably should get this book. I'll get it another time. Yeah. I'm really busy right now in graduate. I put it back on the shelf. I walked to the back of the freaking store. A book falls and hits me on the head. Same book. And I went, okay.
Okay, first of all, the fact that two books fell and hit you sounds like a me story.
The same book? I know.
That is so.
I know, but I bought the book.
Good.
It was life-changing. So, you know, I believe in that kind of thing. Sometimes you get the book you're supposed to.
Yeah, more of the story. Two people, two books on your head and a bus.
You need to
buy the book.
Buy the book. Buy the book. It's, yes, absolutely. Okay, so the other things that I was supposed to talk about here in the beginning, there are lots of ways that you can connect. We are live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. We're live on other sites too, but the easiest way to get entered into the contest is those three: Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for your interaction. Super easy, and we're able to see your comments. And I knew somebody was going to ask. The book, you ready for this? And Alicia asked this. It was Creative Visualization by Shotgi Gawan.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So not a book that you would expect to fall on your head twice. And it was a book about being able to close your eyes and dream and visualize things so that you get clear on what you want and what you don't want.
And look at where we are in the middle of a 44-hour podcastathon that Shannon
visualized. I creatively visualized this into being. There we are. It changed my life because it reminded me at a time, you know, that it's okay to think big. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work out when you think big, you know, and that's okay too.
I think it's okay to think big, and it's also okay to think in steps.
Yeah.
But I think there's nothing wrong with saying bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing.
Well, in fact, one of the things that we were talking about at 3 o'clock in the morning is that when you think big, it's great to think big, but then you have to make a plan. And the plan has to work backwards for me. It doesn't have to for everybody, but you know, if we're gonna be here today, then what did we have to do yesterday? What did we have to do last week? And that's how we approached autism in our household. That's totally how we approach. And I have said more than once, if I could bring the organization skills that I brought to getting my son treatment to the rest of my life, I would be a very rich, successful person. I haven't figured that out yet. So I'm not a very rich, successful person, but you know, I also don't prize like what other people prize too, you know?
But rich,
rewind, blah, blah.
Rich and successful does not necessarily mean money in the bank, and,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
biggest car and whatever. Rich and successful is what it means to you. And look at where your
Yes.
son is today. That is rich and successful.
Oh, I'm off the charts, rich and
Yes.
successful. Okay, so connect with us. That's what we want you to do, and we will potentially reward you with a gift card if your name is picked. But to be entered, you need to do that. Okay, we also need to talk about my hair, because I'm not attached to my hair, and we have this iPad challenge going on right now where Dr. Grant Pichet and I have put our heads together, and we wanted to raise money for Autism Care Today, specifically for iPads. So often, Autism Care Today will get grant requests for iPads for families that have somebody who is either pre-verbal or non-verbal, and they need an iPad for functional communication, and it really pulls at my heartstrings. Everybody has the right to communication, and it shouldn't be tied to a monetary issue, right? But sometimes it is. So we love to put iPads in people's hands because it means the ability to communicate. So we're doing throughout the podcast-a-thon a challenge where we're inviting you to donate to givebutter.com/iPad challenge. We are hoping that we will raise a minimum of $5,000. And if we do, we intend to, we want to raise much more than that. But if we raise at least $5,000, then on the very last hour of the podcast-a-thon, hour 44, which will take place on tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 in the morning Pacific time. If we make the $5,000 thing, we better make the $5,000 thing. Dr. Graham Pichet is going to shave my head bald on the air, live for all of you to see. And listen, she already has a path plan of where she's going to start first and how
I love that.
She has been giddy all week long about the fact that she is going to shave my head.
I mean, look at
So,
that. Look. Don't we want to do? Don't we want to?
Don't we want this? Don't we want to see this? So anything that you can donate, whatever's in the couch cushions, $1 is not too little to donate.
No.
Go to
Every penny counts.
That's right, and it goes towards somebody having a voice, which
That's what's
is
super
powerful.
important. You know.
Well, and we're going to talk about next is that you have your own little challenge going on, Missy Moo.
Yes. So last night during Kobe and I's hour, Kobe, actually a few weeks ago, Kobe came here and painted a very large canvas. It's about a 4x8, do you think? 4x8 canvas it's actually here in the studio. He signed it, and yesterday we got a nice picture that we've posted on Kobe's Instagram of Kobe and Dr. Grant Pichet and Shannon and Joe Montagna and Holly Robinson Pete in front of it, which is very exciting. And while Kobe and I spent the hour last night, he painted his. This was painted live. Let me see if I'm getting it right. Oh, it's this. No, it's this way. So this is what Kobe painted last night. He calls it Starburst. We didn't realize, but it looks like the candies. Lemon, orange. What flavor is the pink? I don't even, strawberry and the cherry. And so he painted this live on air last night. He's going to sign it. It was wet last night, but he'll be signing it down here. And you can actually go to Kobe's Instagram, which is at the Kobe Bird, just at the Kobe Bird. And in the bio is the link to the auction. And Kobe also said he wanted to raise money for iPads as well. I asked him, I said, do you want it to go to arts? Or he said, no, because I think people need to be able to communicate. And he loved what Dr. Grant Pichet said yesterday about, the iPad. So we are auctioning this off. This is a painting that Kobe painted live. You actually can watch the feed from last night. And this was from that. And so we are, you can bid on this, and the auction will end tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And we will send this, and Kobe has decided that since it looks like Starburst, whoever gets this will also get some Starburst with it, a bag of Starburst. And he actually said last night he'd like to also donate a signed key from Lock and Key with it as well. Oh. So he had a special key that is a charity key that he had that was made specifically for him. So if you donate, you will get this. You will get some Starburst to go with the Starburst. And you will get a key, signed by Kobe.
That's amazing.
And so you're going to go to his social media at the Kobe Bird, and in his bio, that will be there. And maybe we'll see if we can post it through whatever other social networks. So this is going to be auctioned off, and the highest bidder, and all of that money is going to go to iPads.
There we go.
To access communication. So here's Kobe's Starburst.
And they've already put where you need to go for the auction in the chat. So it's the one that's www.32auctions.com/Kobe Bird.
Perfect.
So you guys can find that there. You guys are writing in about the book, so who was it that said, our journey, Cameron's new life, said, I think after that, Shannon, I would wear a helmet to every bookstore.
I mean,
I've never had another book hit me in the head, so I don't really understand it.
It was just that you needed to read that book and know.
Yeah, and somebody said, but was the book good? And I kind of thought it was. Later on, there was a book after Jem was diagnosed. Can I go there for a second? I had a problem with resentment because it seemed like everything that we were hearing about that would help our son in the beginning, I heard about it, I immediately had the thought, we can't afford that. Because I had lived my life as an artist and a professor, I'm not somebody who puts money first, and occasionally that smacks you in the rear end, you know? And when my kid needed things, it certainly smacked me in the rear end. And I saw all these people around me, my colleagues and friends from college who were making bank. And we weren't, and here was my kid and he needed stuff, you know? So there's creative visualization by Shot Gigawan, but then there is the secondary book, which is Creating Prosperity, which is a whole set of visualizations about clearing the way for you to allow more money to come into your life, because sometimes we get bogged down with ideas about money. And it was a really powerful book for me too. I love the whole idea about if you want to change your life, change how you're thinking. Because what you think becomes what you say, becomes what you do, becomes who you are. So that's what I kind of love about self-help. Somebody's calling me. Let's see if it is spam. I was like, if it's Temple.
Isn't it funny, the spam that comes through on our phones?
I was like, if it's Temple Grandin, we'll take it.
Yes.
But no. Because I asked Temple Grandin yesterday if she watched The Last of Us. And I know, right? Isn't that the conversation we all want to hear?
Did she?
She didn't know about it and hadn't seen it, but she said, oh, and what's it about? Because we've talked movies before, she and I, and we have very similar tastes and things. She's all about Star Trek. I'm telling way too much about myself. But so I was telling her, I said, well, it's about zombies, but it's not really about zombies. And I thought she would groove on the science perspective of the whole thing. And she said, oh, it kind of sounds like the Zombie Diaries, which I used to read on planes. And so I think she's going to check it out. And then,
if you haven't seen The Last of Us,
Oh.
Kobe loves the fact that it's the cordyceps, that it's a fungus, that with zombies and like Walking Dead, it's not, I don't know what Walking Dead is. It's this, but
Yeah.
Kobe loves the fact that it's a fungal,
Yeah.
and he loves
It's
the
best.
the mushroom cordyceps part of it.
It's just the best thing. I love it. And, I'm just going to be honest that Pedro Pascal, stop.
No, it's Jose Pedro Barcelona blah, blah,
Oh,
Pascal.
is that what it is?
He's got 6 names, and I can't say it because he says it beautifully, and it's gorgeous.
And he's amazing.
I have gone into a rabbit hole. We've talked about it.
Well, you know what my whole new thing has been? That I say all the time, I want to be like Joel, because Joel is capable. And I want to feel, because sometimes lately I haven't felt entirely capable. And I always look at Joel, and everybody looks at Joel and says,
I want to be like Ellie. Ellie is capable as
oh, there you go.
AF.
But I want to be like Joel, because I love how everybody looks at him and goes, Joel will be able to handle it. And I want to be more like Joel. But we've digressed off of our topics here. So, okay.
We started on Pedro, and
I know. Please, it's like
my demeanor changes. I'm like, yes, please.
Hose me down. Okay, so anyway, yes, so here, where are we? Okay, what is the name of the book? We already said that. Brian has written in and said, good morning, Shannon and Autism Live family, and they would like to talk about anything tied to diet and nutrition, so we can go there in just a second. Carl has written in and said, what is good for autistic people usually ends up being good for everyone. Amen to that. Let's get that on a t-shirt,
Yeah,
Carl.
I like that.
Our journey, Cameron's new life says, we just sent my son's AAC device to be fixed. Hard to be without it. you know, if you got insurance, I would ask for them to give you a replacement because he should not be without it. We would not, like, let's stop and consider that we would never, if somebody's wheelchair was broken, we would never have an expectation of, well, I guess you're going to be without that while we're going to wait. Like a community would rally around. But start with your insurance and ask them if they will pay for it. And Jonathan says, I didn't know Kobe can paint, and I see his pictures on Instagram, which are just wonderful.
So we didn't know Kobe could paint either. One of the things with Kobe is I am a creative, and when he was little, I had every coloring book, every marker, every colored pencil, every paint. I had a little picnic table that turned into an easel, and he had no desire. I think once he like scribbled onto a paper, it's choices, too many choices, and having to choose a color or things like that were too much for Kobe, and the fact that then it wouldn't be inside of the lines, and even when he was little, he just wanted to have nothing with it. Getting paint on his hand or colors on his hands is just something he didn't want to do. And he really has never been interested in painting or art at all, that kind of art. And when Shannon had said, hey, you know, Kobe, would you like to do a painting for our office? Kobe was like, no. And then he stopped. Usually I'll go, Kobe, do you want to think about it? And I'll talk him through and he'll say, no, thank you. And he was like, actually, Mom, he said exactly this. Let's do it. I'll do it. And I was like, okay. And I think in some ways it was because it was you, because he loves some Shannon.
I don't want to say, but I adore the ground that boy walks on.
And he was like, okay. And he came in, and we talked about this last night. Originally, he was going to do like a splatter, like a Pollock. And I was like, you know, I think that's too much for him. I think I know where I want him to succeed, so I try to set him up. I'm not saying he's not going to do a Pollock-esque picture, but I thought the tactile and the mess of that would be too much for him, and the choices of the splatters.
Right.
So we talked about, you know, doing a masking tape and then doing, I kind of showed him a video. I showed him a few different things that people did, because part of the thing was I'm not helping him doing this painting. He has to do it completely himself. I had nothing to do with it.
And by the way, she has video that you guys can watch online right now of him doing it. You see that it is him doing
100%
and him making the decisions.
I didn't make any color choices, but I kind of set it up before and said, we even had, actually this canvas had a plastic on it, and he'd never ripped masking tape before. And so we said, let's practice on this. Let's do some painter's tape. And we watched a video, and I said, let's practice on here. So when you get there, because I like to set him up for success. I don't like to go into something and let him stress out. And
let them potentially flounder.
Right. And one of the things that he was having a really hard time with originally was just ripping the tape off. He couldn't understand the logistics behind it. And so I said, hold it in this hand, rip it this way. So by the time we got here, he
was a master.
He knew how to do that, right? And I mean, the canvas we did was this size, and the one that he painted and taped was 4x8. So that's a big difference, but he already had the mechanics and the mechanism in his brain to say, this is how I rip it. And I said, we can get scissors. He's like, no, I want to be able to do it that way. Yeah. And so I'm looking over here because I'm looking at it up on the wall. And
it's hanging on our wall, and it's beautiful. It is a work of art.
The color choices, the things that he did, and for it to be his first thing, he's already been commissioned by someone else to do another one. So I said to him last night, I said, Kobe, can you believe this? Like, this is and he said, it's not that I liked it or didn't like it, which I thought was such a, and it's the way he talks about it, because he loved it. But he also said, but it's not that I liked it or that I didn't like it. It's that it put me in such a state of a zen that instead, and I think for him, and I think how I hear that as his mom, is that instead of being so stressed out about it doing wrong, because I said, first of all, art, there's nothing wrong. Art is your choices. Art is the colors you want to do, the taping you want to do. There is nothing wrong. If you do it and then paint it all black, that's your choice. There is nothing wrong. And I wanted him to know, because he's always afraid to do something out of the lines or something wrong. And I said, there's no wrong decision in art. That's your choice. That's your artistic choice. And so I think that's what he means when he talked about that zen, that he didn't have that outside input of I'm going to do it wrong, or I'm going to choose the wrong color. And it was also hard for me to step back and be like, which I didn't in some points. I was like, Kobe, do you want to maybe paint a little different there? And I was like, you know what, Rachel? This is Kobe's painting. Be fine. Let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful watching him paint. And I love that you've got videos capturing him painting both paintings, because you kind of get to see his process a little bit. And I love, he got very chatty Cathy with me while he was painting.
I think that's part of the zen, because none of the other things, coming at him.
I absolutely love that. I have to say, Amanda said, my son just learned to rip tape. And she said, I said to myself, oh, I guess I missed teaching that lesson. There's all kinds of things in that.
Think
like
about
that
those little things. Kobe's 20 and he's never ripped tape before. What does he needed to rip tape for? And so to go through that mechanism, he was having such a hard time, and Kobe's kind of ambidextrous because at one point he didn't cross midline. So there's certain things that he picks up with certain hands. And I have to think of it as you, Shannon, as a lefty or a righty as me, because depending on where his brain is, he still does, pick up things depending on what side. And that ripping the tape, just that simple thing to us that's so, there's things to us that seem so simple and everyday that our kids don't know because they haven't done. And I like to set him up for success.
Yeah. And Parker asked, will Wyatt Jackson be making art as well? I would love some Y art for some iPads. Well, Nancy's going to be here in a few hours and we can ask her, Parker. I will tell you that he is so busy right now because he has so many commissions. That boy is busy and making really remarkable painting. I love that. I love that our young people are being recognized as the artists that they are.
Okay, I need to say something really quick because Shannon and I have talked about this. We didn't talk about this. Shannon and I call our grown sons, who are both adults, kids.
Yes.
And no matter what, he'll be 70 and I'll be, and I will still call him my kid. And I realize that he's a young adult. I realize he's an adult. He's going to be 21 next month. I realize that, but we still call him kids. And Shannon and I have talked about this. I don't ever want you, when we're talking about our individuals that are in our community who are older and we say our kids. It's not something that we're trying to, and I'm going to use verbiage that might not sound right, but we're not trying to dumb anybody down calling them their kid. It's because we have this kinship and our kids are our kids, even though they're adults and individuals. We were talking about, is there a word? Like, does anybody else?
And there is no word in English that doesn't, like I can say my progeny, but that doesn't describe how I feel about when you say my child or my kid, and to say my adult child sounds wrong.
Right,
that
because
sounds
you're an
like
adult.
belittling.
Yeah, and I'm not, again, the word is, I'm not dumbing down anybody, and I'm not saying that right, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's when we're saying our kiddos or well, Kobe and I started saying our friends in the community.
Yeah.
But also, our friends in the community, it's just interesting. Does anybody have any words that they use?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
I think we need to make a new word in the English language, but I want to get to some of these things. Jonathan says, Rachel, I can't believe you're being interviewed by Shannon about Kobe Bird. Jonathan, I hope you were here for either the hours that Kobe was here or that you watched them in podcast.
Kobe and I did a whole hour last night, just the two of us.
You got to check it out.
At midnight.
You got to check it out. So I want to get to the diet and nutrition the questions because Parker asked also. So Brian asked anything tied to diet and nutrition. Parker said, does veganism work for autistic people? I think, autistic people are like people, so there's a percentage of them that are vegan. Although I'm trying to think how many vegan people I know on the spectrum, and I don't know.
I really don't.
So
Kobe knows, actually, just my journey with Kobe, and I know every person is individually different, and what works for one, what doesn't work for the other, and Kobe and I speak about that, but Kobe has been gluten and dairy free since he was 5.5 years old. I saw within 3 weeks of him not having dairy, and then it was 2 weeks without dairy and then 1 week without gluten, so 3 weeks in, Kobe went from 3-word sentences like red car, mommy red car, and he's talked about this because he remembers it.
Wow.
To mommy red car, and then we were driving down the road and he was like, Mom, do you see that car with the 4 wheels and the 4 doors and it's red? I think it's a Nissan. And I was like, who are you and what happened? For Kobe, what he, some people get a yeasty belly. Kobe kind of got a yeasty brain and I could see it cloudy. We could tell when he ate something that was cross-contaminated, he would have really hard behavior, he wouldn't sleep, and Kobe is someone who's never required a lot of sleep, and the sleep would go away, and we stayed diligent, and he can make his own choices. He's going to be 21, and he still chooses to this day to be gluten-free and dairy-free, because he knows what it does to his body. It makes him really sick, but he knows the clarity it gives him, and he knows how it makes him feel. But he also recently has just really been wanting to do fish because he realizes, you're talking about veganism. Was it Jonathan or who asked that?
Parker asked.
Parker asked that. Parker Kobe recently has realized that chicken and especially red meat kind of makes his belly not feel great. And so he's been really, really just wanting to do fish. He's not fully pescatarian, but for the most part, I mean, he always craves, he could have sushi and fish and poke all the time. But he's realizing at his age and as he tests things that he eats, that he knows what makes him feel good and not feel good. And he said sometimes it makes his brain feel a little slower. So it's really interesting to be able to hear that from him now.
Absolutely.
And knowing that I was so diligent all those years to make sure he was gluten-free and dairy-free.
And Parker wants us to remember that gluten-free, casein-free is not
casein,
for everyone. That it isn't for everyone, and that it's not effective for everyone. And we wholeheartedly agree with you there, Parker. But for those of us that it did make a difference, it made a big difference. So I am a fan. I know, Parker, we're going to disagree on this. I'm a fan of trying it to see, because it's not, compared to what it used to be, it's not that hard to do. It does mean doing it for, I would say, at least 5 months to give it a college try. I know people that have tried it for 2 weeks and said, oh, I didn't see anything happen, and I don't think that's enough time. Although for both of us, we saw a big, pretty quick response. For Kobe, it meant that the sentences he was saying went longer. And for Jem, we went from having no words to adding 5 words to his vocabulary a day, but he still wasn't speaking in sentences. It wasn't, and he made the leap that you're talking about, from saying "mommy red car" to I think it's a Nissan.
Right.
When we had been on the GFCF diet for a while and then added methyl B12 shots. So I just want to put that out there. It's different
Parker,
for everybody.
we are very clear that it works for some people and it doesn't work for others.
Yes.
That's why we talk about it. We don't go into it a lot. We only talk about it when people ask us, because we don't want people thinking that that's something you have to do and that that's a magic cure. For us, there is no cure. There's no, anything like that. It's what we could do to help Kobe live his best life. And for him, he knows that works. And like I said, that's still his own option. And he knows what gives him clarity. Because I've said, do you want to try dairy or wheat? And he's like, he's had some dairy stuff and he's gotten very sick from it. And each of us individually, like what Shannon can eat and what I can eat, are completely different. So we always say that everybody's journey is different, and it worked for him, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else.
I always say that sometime we're going to go to a Trader Joe's and we're going to shop there together, because you would think, I'm gluten-free, casein-free, you're milk-free, your son is gluten-free, casein-free. Mine is, he takes a walk on the wild side a lot recently, where he's trying new things. He doesn't eat very much dairy, but he'll have goat cheese sometimes, but he's having gluten and testing it out to see what his limits are, to see I can have
Wait, can I talk about goat cheese?
Yeah.
Kobe, oh no, sheep's cheese. Because that technically doesn't have casein in it, right?
It doesn't?
Casein apparently is just in dairy, in cow milk.
I didn't know
so
that.
You're supposed to, we've done some research. So Kobe tried sheep's cheese. He, after very, very sick Kobe, looked at me and said, I will never try a cheese that's not vegan again.
There we go.
Because he knew what it did to his system.
Well, it's not great for Jem, but he's willing to have a little bit of it every once in a while, because it's not as bad if he doesn't have much. But the gluten thing, he's been having gluten on a fairly regular basis. And, he's about to be 20, and he needs to be able to make these decisions for himself and find out how his body works. I had to at 20 to find out that I was allergic to wheat. And it wasn't until like 10 years ago that I tested positive for milk again, and bananas. It's not fair. But anyway, my point was, you guys don't eat quinoa.
No, we're very allergic to quinoa.
We eat quinoa. I don't have anything with caffeine or chocolate in it.
And I'm drinking all the coffee with a little bit of chocolate in it.
There we go. So even though we have families that have GFCF in them, we go to Trader Joe's and we buy totally different products. And I love, there have been a couple of times that you've gotten something from Trader Joe's and I'm like, that's gluten-free, casein-free, and you go, you're not having this? And there have been a couple of times that I've bought things and you're like,
I'm like, that is, I can,
yeah. So,
I mean, Shannon introduced Kobe to gluten-free, casein-free Oreos.
Oh.
And I don't know, but if you know, he said to me last night after he painted, because there are some Oreos that Shannon had bought him to have here in the studio. And last night after the show, he goes, I know what my next painting's going to be. I said, what? He goes, because he's discovered the mint. Gluten-free Oreo, which is his new favorite thing in the whole wide world. So Oreo, if you would like to sponsor Kobe, he will talk all the live long day, because he said his next painting is going to be an ode to the mint Oreo.
Well,
this is what I was like,
that's
Kobe,
pretty
really?
amazing.
And I was like, I'm not going to judge your art, but yes.
But Brian says here, he says, thank you, Shannon. I add that bloating GI trouble is something that his son has dealt with long term. He says, we didn't know better in his early years, and we only know what we know when we know, Brian. And says, is there some link between GI and ASD? Love you and everything that you do for the ASD family. We love you back, Brian. And yeah, look, we can't speak in absolutes, right? Because every person who's on the autism spectrum does not have GI issues. They don't. But a lot of people do. A lot of people do. They have sensitivities or things. And if you talk to Dr. Granpeesheh about it, she talks about, even this morning, she was talking about how our food supply has changed. I know people here in the United States that they can't eat bread. They can't eat wheat. Like devastating. Doctors have said to them, celiac, you can't have it, whatever. They go to France.
Oh, or Italy.
Yeah. And they can eat full loaves of bread with I just want to move to France and Italy.
I want to go
I would like a baguette right now.
A baguette with some butter and tomatoes, and I'm happy.
Stop. Okay.
I want to ride a bike with that in my thing and have the music playing with a beret.
Let's put that on the bucket list.
That's going to be our new icon. We're going to be on a bicycle built for two with baguettes.
I love it. There we go. That'll be our new logo.
Yes.
But because here in the United States we have allowed for our wheat supply to become mostly what we were talking about earlier, frankenfood. It's a GMO. So there you go. And that can cause gas and bloating in some people, not everyone.
And not only people on the spectrum. I mean, it's definitely a lot of people are having those issues, and we realize that our whole bodies are connected. And so a lot of times, I mean, have you ever had a meal and after the meal you're just done? In Hawaii we call it kanak attack. It's eat till you sleep. But and there's even songs about kanak attack.
I love it.
But there's things that you eat sometimes that after you go, one, that doesn't agree with me, or two, I just feel fuzzy, or you just want to knock out. It's because our bodies, we're all connected. Our brains, our bodies, everything. We're one thing. And like Shannon said, each of us are so different. So.
But we see that our individuals who are on the autism spectrum, I feel that a large proportion of them have GI issues or have food issues with things that their bodies can handle or they can't. I always think back to my old Aunt Mick, who would say, she had a southern accent, she'd say, I like onions, but they don't like me.
Yeah.
And I always thought, well, how can an onion not like you? Now I understand. I'm a certain age and I understand my body doesn't make the enzymes to take care of onions. So some of our kids don't have the right enzymes. You can do enzymes to help them to be able to digest some things. That's successful with some people. But here's what I love. Amanda, who is absolutely amazing, has written in and said, Brian, I can send you some links with articles that will help you understand the GI issues in autism.
Amanda.
Go Amanda. Love that. That's our community in action. Mike Hipple has written in and said, if you have a communication device is through a communication device company, the company will send you a communication device to use while theirs is being fixed. The app companies don't do that, sadly. But Mike, she did say that it was a Dynavox, so that absolutely would count as that. But I would think that your insurance would cover it. Insurance will cover iPads now if it's found to be a medical necessity. And it's a medical necessity if your child needs it to be able to functionally communicate. And so in that case, I think the insurance would do it. I will say that she wrote in that she had to leave to go to work, so I'm going to try to remember when she's back on listening to tell her, Mike, what you said, and I appreciate you writing that in. Parker says, my cousins are both deathly allergic to egg, and the youngest one is that way to milk as well. We have a lot of people with a lot of food sensitivities. Hello, Helen. I'm saying hello to Helen. But, when you started out, what made you decide to do the diet? Was it something you heard, or why did you decide to do the diet with Kobe?
I read Jenny McCarthy's book.
Okay. And that made you say, I'm going to try this.
Read that her son had read it, and I knew nothing else about autism, nothing. I had no information. There wasn't a lot online.
Yeah.
And then once I saw that, I saw that the TACA website had a dietary thing, and I said, I'll try anything for him.
Yeah.
And at the time, he only ate orange food. So we would go to Trader Joe's and I would get him the bag of the vegetable chips, and I'd have to pull all the white and greens out because he wouldn't even touch it if it was near that. Macaroni and cheese, oranges, Cheetos. It sounds all horrible, but he would only eat orange food.
Yeah, and we feed our kids what they'll eat.
Because if that's all they're eating, then that's what they're eating.
And food is love.
And food is love. And it was really difficult. And Taka had a GFCF food list, and it had all the stores you can get and all you can do. And I remember getting it and printing out their Trader Joe's list of foods. And I walked into Trader Joe's with that list printed, highlighted, could not find anything on it, and I was in the freezer section hysterically bawling. Because I was like, first of all, my son doesn't eat anything that's not orange. Macaroni and cheese, all the things that he couldn't eat. He could have the vegetable chips still because they were gluten-free, dairy-free. Or I say dairy-free now, it's GFCF. I've said that for years, but people never understood what casein is. Casein is the protein that's found in dairy. And so the reason I started, and I still do say GFCF, but I changed my vernacular. I call it vernaculary, but I call it gluten-free, dairy-free in my own space, because when I say casein to people, they have no clue what that means.
Yeah.
So it is, and gluten is also the protein that's found in wheat, and casein is the protein that's found in dairy. So that's why my vernacular is a little different, because I've learned that if I say, do you have casein in that? People have no clue.
Yeah.
So when I say dairy-free, that doesn't mean he has like a lactose-free milk, because lactose-free milk still has casein in it.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that lactate has casein in it. I've just changed the way I say it for a more broader spectrum. But I remember standing in the middle of Trader Joe's hysterically bawling, and I've never seen this guy again. He was a bearded Trader Joe's guy. And what do they call them there? Team member.
Yeah.
He was a team member. And he walked up and he was like, it was kind of one of those movies in a moment. One of those moments in a movie where you're standing there and the world is spinning around you, but you're frozen. And I had that moment. And he walked up and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "My son has autism and I don't know what he can eat. And this is a list of what I have. And I highlighted what I think I could eat and I don't know what's on here." And he was like, "Okay, let's go find what we could have." And I started with dairy. I completely eliminated dairy first because they said not to do everything at once. So for 2 weeks I did that. And then the next week I did that. But I thought I will try whatever it was. And I didn't have any information. There was no Autism Live. There was no Autism Network. There was no information that I knew about at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle. And I still... I watched for 2 weeks. It was very difficult. And then the third week, and then taking him off the wheat and trying to figure out what he could eat and what he would eat, and trial and error. But then hearing him, the sentence, and seeing him kind of come to life into a way that he hadn't been. And us also seeing that he could sleep a little better. And I thought, I'm going to keep doing this if it seems like it's going to help.
And I want to say, because you brought up Taka, if you're looking for any kind of information now about diet and about nutrition and GI issues, I would go to the Taka website. They're going to have you the best, and I know Amanda's going to send you some resources, but I also would go to Taka, TACA now.org, and look around under the resources. And the other thing I would do is request a journey guide from them. They make these wonderful soft bound books that have different topics. Tons of people write different pieces. They're like essays that are really, really helpful, that you can get one, and they're free. They might ask you for shipping, but you get one, and what I recommend, and judge me, but when I was in graduate school, we had so much reading to do. They said, take these 6 books, put them on the tank on the back of your toilet, and every time you sit down on the toilet, open the book. I know it's not the most sanitary thing, but if you're
going to be on your phone anyway.
Well, come on. But I think it's also too, if you sit down, this is what we were taught. I'm sorry to be so graphic, but if you sit down and your hands are clean, right? You sit down, and while you're doing your business, you look at the book. Then you put the book down, take care of your business, you wash it. Your hands have never touched anything. You know what I mean? But you'll get the books read. Yeah. And the great thing about the Taka Journey Guide is you'll open it up and just read that page, and you'll be someplace further along. Or you can dog ear all the pages that are nutrition, but you'll get good information. It's really good information. They've been doing this for 20 years with a lot of people with a lot lot of information. They've got answers galore.
And like I said, Kobe, I've given him the option. I'm not that I give him the option, but he's old enough to make his own food choices, but he knows what makes him feel better.
Yeah.
And he talks about his brain space and the brain fog and all of that. And he talks about how it made him feel and how it makes him feel now. So, and we always say, his journey is his journey and it's
That's
nobody
right.
else's.
That's
and
right.
if someone wants to try something, go for it. And we're very big on each individual,
There we go.
It's important to
Can you
us.
believe we're out of time?
No.
So it is time now for me to read the winners. If I
Yay.
say your name, then you need to email me. It's that portion of the program. And my email again is shannon@autism-live.com. And I'll need to hear from you. Give me at least until Monday to start sending these to you. You'll win a $25 gift certificate from Discovery Toys to spend on their USA website.
That's amazing.
Not on Amazon, not in retail stores. So, Jonathan Joseph, you have won. Helen Angela Buckley, you have won. Brian Parley, you have won. Zemine Tarif, you've won. Terrence Benton, Britt Vang, excuse me, now I'm going to get the hiccups. Julie Ferguson, Carolyn Schroff, Karen Rose, and Rita Benson. You have all won
Congratulations,
$25 gift certificates. So congratulations for that. We have to sign off because coming up next, Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is continuing. I'm not going to be here with her. She is going to be interviewing people who have had colleagues that she has worked with or people that have had an influence on her, people she considers to be heroes who have made an impact on autism.
exciting.
And it's 2 hours long that she's going to be talking to some pretty amazing people about what they're doing
That's
now
brilliant.
and how long they have been on this journey and what made them be on the journey.
Exciting.
Don't you find it amazing when somebody chooses and says, this is the community that I want to help and support? I kind of want to know, like, why?
Right.
Because I want to hear how they love
Right.
all of the individuals in our community.
I love that.
That makes me really happy
Yeah.
and hopeful. So that's going to be the next 2 hours. And then we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Can I tell you that at 4 o'clock today, Pacific time, Nancy Allspaw Jackson will join me along with the filmmaker and the mom in the film Beyond. I was talking to you about this the other day. Great documentary. You guys are going to want to be here, I'm telling you. Okay, but for right now, we're going to sign off and then we'll get Dr. Granpeesheh in here, so don't go anywhere. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
We didn't say what it...
It's okay.
Let's
I'm thankful for the podcast-a-thon.
Okay, I'm thankful for you.
Thank you.
You're a light. I always forget. You need to make me remember.
This is a different day today.
I know, but still. But anyway, all right, stay tuned because Dr. Granpeesheh coming up next.
Bye, everyone.